Good morning and welcome to the Daily Ramble here on Claret and Booze. My name's Gary and got a few things to talk about today. First of all, let's talk about Flynn Downes. Number 10, Flynn Downes? Strange. And generally I want to talk about Moyes' negative tactics and why that is dividing the fan base. There's lots of different factions at play here, and I want to just briefly discuss them. And then finally we look ahead to Silkeborg, which should be a nice walk in the park on Thursday, he says. Before we go there, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe if you enjoy this video, and hit the like button and the bell notification icon to be informed of new shows. So on with the show. Flynn Downes. Now, it's very strange, right? Because Flynn Downes, we can see as West Ham fans, we know a good player when we see him. We can see that he's a very, very good central defensive midfielder who can play under pressure, who very rarely gives the ball away, very neat and tidy, usually finds his destination with a pass, keeps it simple. Lot of comparisons to a young Mark Noble. He's a good player. He's a good player and he's Premier League quality. That much is clear. He has recently played 2 European games, his last 2 European games, where there have been some big names on the pitch with him, and he has shone. Absolutely shone. And in the last European game, David Moyes even came out and said he was probably the best player on the pitch, which he was. Now, when you get kind of feedback like that, it can't be ignored. And Moyes cannot ignore Flynn Downes right now, which is why he is prizing him into the team. Now, he's obviously attracted to his solid defensive attributes, which is what he should be used for, in my opinion anyway. But, we've seen the last 2 games, he's been deployed in a very strange way. I mean, against Liverpool, now, I can understand going defensive against Liverpool before you start, right? That is, that's common sense to me. However, I can understand going defensive against Liverpool when you're playing, 3, maybe 3 in the middle, and Downes is at the heart of that, and maybe you're freeing up Souček and Rice to get forward a little bit more. What I don't understand is playing basically a midfield 4, a holding 4, when you count Fornals into that as well, and shoving Downes out on the right. I mean, what was he doing out there? He's never going to impress brilliantly. He did as well as he could, and he got some good reviews. The guy never puts in a bad performance, which takes me on to Bournemouth, where he's a number 10. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I had to wait until the game turned around, because I'm Bobby Moore lower, and so we were kicking the other way in the first half, and I thought, looks like he's number 10. What's happening there? And then second half, they were kicking towards us, so I could see what Moyes was trying to do, and what he was clearly trying to do was get Downes to defend from the front. We were playing a high press at times. It wasn't always like that, but we were playing a high press at times, and when we did, we hunted in packs, and Downes was pivotal to that. So it was clearly a game plan going into it. But we were playing Bournemouth, for Christ's sake, right? Bournemouth, who were on Gary O'Neill, temporary manager, caretaker manager. They're a really, really poor side. And I said before that Bournemouth game that what I wanted to see was for us to, and this is what a lot of people wanted to see, was for us to line up, take the game to Bournemouth. And we did at times take the game to Bournemouth, courtesy of Ben Rama and Skamaka and a few others. But it was at its heart, at its soul, we lined up to basically in a defensive formation, and that is just, to me, it's a waste. It's a waste of what we've got and the players we've got available to us to do that. And my theory is he just doesn't want to drop Souček. He cannot drop Souček. He sees Souček as the goal threat. And look, Souček does get himself on the end of quite a lot of chances, doesn't he? But he ain't scoring many. Anyway, and that aside, Downes is a better central defensive midfielder than Souček. I'm at a loss. I'm honestly at a loss as to why, Flynn Downes is being treated in this way. On to the next story. So it's not really a next story, it's just part of the same story, and that's around David Moyes' negativity in general. So, you know, the results have been going our way mainly in spite of the negative tactics, not because of, in spite of. We're 10th in the Premier League, off the back of a win where VAR played its part, let's be honest, on Monday night. I'd have been unhappy to have been on the receiving end of those 2 goals, even though they were strictly in line with the rules. The same as against Fulham. Those goals were strictly in line with the rules as well. But if I was on the receiving end, I would have been unhappy. So what we're doing is we're getting some good decisions going our way after a few decisions didn't go our way earlier in the season. I'm thinking Nottingham Forest away, I'm thinking Chelsea away, right? So you could say it evens itself out. And you could look at Aston Villa as well and say we got a lucky winner from a deflection, right? So these are not convincing wins, and they're definitely not convincing performances. And we're lining up largely in the first half of these games to defend. There is this thing in the back of my mind from earlier in the season when Antonio said on his podcast that, when we go behind, we try to not throw the kitchen sink at it. We just try to not go 2 goals behind, which, you could say that's common sense, that's pragmatic. But that's the thing, it's the pragmatism that's really driving people mad. And it is leading to, or it's led to, a divided fan base. I mean, what to expect when we go up to Man U on Sunday, right? It's going to be a very similar formation to what we played against Liverpool. And again, Liverpool, you could look at that in parts and you could say, oh, we're really unlucky. We should have nicked a draw. And yeah, we could have had the penalty. Liverpool had a load of chances as well, especially in the first half. And we really started getting in the ascendancy in that game when Klopp took his 3 best players off the pitch, which was perhaps a sign of arrogance by him that nearly backfired. I don't know. But anyway, the fan base is made up at the moment of a lot of different factions. Some people will never like Moyes. They've always said he's a dinosaur, and that is true. And I'm not one of those, right? I'm one of these people. I will always support the manager until I think they're no use anymore. I don't think in my mind Moyes has got to that stage yet. I just find Moyes frustrating, and I put myself in the category of I tolerate Moyes because he gets results. Right now, I don't admire the way he plays football by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, it largely bores me to tears. When we were at the game on Monday night, the first half was so dull that at one point, my son Ross on his phone, he was looking up the meaning of turgid because it means something completely different to what you think it does. He thought it was kind of a chemical property or something, which it is. But so I'll change it. I'll call it tedious. It's not turgid, it's tedious. But this takes me on to, I did a Twitter survey and I said, give me one word to describe what you think about David Moyes' approach to football. And I got about 500 responses, and it varied. They were largely negative, right? Words like pragmatic, desperate, afraid, depressing. But then at the other end of the spectrum, you had all the way to good and necessary and things like that, right? I don't think it's necessary, and I don't think it's necessarily good either. I think it's it is on the. I think picking all those words, I think it's desperate. It's desperate because we are putting, the result ahead of everything, and you could say that's the right thing to do. But when you've got a wealth of talent available to you, why not use it? We didn't sign these players, didn't spend 180 million to sit and defend. Right, we didn't. You remember back to Paqueta's first game when we played against Chelsea. He was basically another defender. That's not the way you use these players. You utilise these players. Look on Monday night when poor Flynn Downes was playing number 10. You've got known, quite good central attacking midfielders. All right, there's the second string you could say, but you had Fornals on the bench. He never gets to play in his central attacking midfield position. That's where he's best. Lanzini as well. Behind Fornals, never get to play in those positions. In fact, Fornals got brought on later on to help shut out the game on Monday. Fornals has been turned from an attacking midfielder into just another defender, a supplementary defender. And I don't want to see this happen to all of our good players. I want to see Paqueta thrive, bring his flair have the freedom to do what he wants to do. I want to see Paqueta playing alongside, for instance, Ben Rama. And my personal belief is I'm not going to see that happen apart from maybe when someone comes on from the bench. Because, on Monday, Benny was man of the match. He had a really good game. And this is me, who wasn't Benny's biggest fan last year and the year before. But this year, I'm becoming a fan, becoming a big fan, because he is not afraid to get his head down and run at the opposition. Now, not everything comes off. I appreciate that. But when you've got players like him and like Paqueta, they're going to try stuff. And half of it won't come off, right? But that's through trying stuff. At least they're trying stuff, right? When, even though he was man of the match, Benny, and Moyes gave him a lot of credit after the game, as soon as Paqueta's fit, Paqueta will be back in, Benny will be out, right? He'll be back bench warming again. That's the thing I find disappointing, is that we're not making the most of the players that we've got, all right? So look, there is another, so I covered two, this fan division. Some will never like Moyes, some tolerate Moyes like me, some absolutely love Moyes. He can do no wrong. All right, so let's give them those an honourable mention. There are people like that who will just back the manager to the hilt until they're gone. Again, I don't really count myself in that category. I think if it got to the point, for instance, where we're going into the World Cup break and we're just above the relegation zone, I'll be pulling the ripcord, right? But I do not think Moyes is there yet. But Moyes can help himself, and he can win people like me over again with attacking football, or at least show an intent towards attacking football with your formation, with the players you select. He can't, to a large extent, affect what goes on the pitch once he's selected the team and the formation, but show some intent in what you're doing. And at the moment, he's not showing intent. We're going to go up to Man United with fucking 8 people behind the ball. We are, right? Anyway, moving on to the next story. The final one, actually. A few words on Silkeborg. So, is all we need to win that group in the Conference League is a draw. As a 0-0 ball draw, a 1-1 draw, any draw will do us on Thursday. We really should be putting these to bed, though. Let's get it out of sight. Another win, a few more quid in the kitty. You get win bonuses for every win in the group, so we should still be trying to win these games. But either way, it'll be nice to get this out the way, and we won't have any more European commitments until the last 16, I think it is, it kicks off next February. All right, so what do I expect in terms of team tomorrow? I think I've got a feeling he's going to play quite a weakened side. I hope he doesn't. I hope it's a similar team to what he selected in the last game, because we, just one more game we've got to take seriously. And also I'm going, so I don't really want to watch a home defeat to Silkeborg. So look, let's hope we can put that to bed. Job done. That is one thing this season that's gone really well, by the way, the European campaign. We seem pretty adept, don't we, to winning in Europe. We haven't come across any tough challenges so far this campaign, but I'm sure that will come later in the competition. And we're looking good. So anyway, finish on a high note. Thank you all for watching. If you've enjoyed this video and you're new to the channel, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Claret and Booze. It costs you nothing. Hit the bell notification icon and give us a like. Until next time, see you soon, and come on, you irons.